Um, the different traffic lights, especially now that the FCT has installed, most of the traffic junctions have installed traffic lights at those junctions. People needed to know what they are and what they mean. These traffic junctions have been established, to separate traffic, to ensure that there's smooth driving, between vehicles coming at especially intersections. Of course, just like when we were in primary school, they used to tell us what these lights were. Red means stop, amber means get ready to go, and green means go. That is basically what these lights indicate. Even for pedestrians, on the lane where pedestrians are supposed to move, there are indicators also in certain of these traffic intersections, just to ensure that there's free movement for everybody. So the traffic mix is separated in those kind of junctions. I've also observed one other thing that people are not very aware of in FCT. There are certain traffic junctions where you go, you see a smaller traffic light that is flashing amber continuously. What that means is normally it goes to the right from the direction you are coming from. So it goes to the right. And the other traffic that's coming in from the opposite lane, since it's a twin, it's two lanes, you are expected to enter from both the other side and then the lane from the right. I can give you a typical example, especially when you're coming from Bega and coming to Zone 5. There's a traffic junction there. You see one that is continuously flashing amber. That means you can drive through red on the main road when you are going to the right. But some people will come and hang and wait for the bigger light to show green first. You are not supposed to wait. You are expected to enter with the other lane. You just enter carefully. So that's what that means. So people needed not to be waiting, even when it's on red in the main lane that you are coming from. So I wanted to educate, especially FCT residents, on those kind of traffic junctions. I've just given you a typical example of one where such traffic junctions are. They have helped a lot, especially in the area of separating traffic. I told you there's a lot of traffic mix in town, especially in Abuja, where we have bigger vehicles, smaller vehicles, sometimes even these dispatch riders who are now constituting a nuisance too in the city. They don't obey traffic lights. That's seriously become a problem. And I think the FCT administration needed to review the engagement of these people. We have recorded so many crashes involving these dispatch riders. I'm sure a lot of Nigerians have also observed the infractions. They don't have a strong union, so we'll have actually gone through the union to enforce what we want to enforce. But we are trying to gather them as many as we can gather. They are behaving just like exactly the way the other Okada, prior to their being banned, behave. When they can drive on your left or on your right, which is not correct, on the wrong side of the road. And God help you, something happened and then there's an impact between you and the bike rider. Before you know it, a lot of them will gather and will even want to molest the motorist or the driver of the vehicle that they had problems with. That is also a security challenge. I've been speaking with Dr. Latif Bello, the Director of Road Traffic Services in the FCT. We've been working together very closely on this area. We are thinking on how to review their activities so that they don't constitute a nuisance. You see, Abuja is supposed to be a model city, where investors come and they see an example of a city that's a model that is supposed to attract investors. Nobody wants to put their money in a chaotic environment where you know that, okay, if I put my money here, the tendency is, okay, the transport system is not good. It is going to affect my business, and so it's going to drive away these investors. That's what we're saying. So let me also use this opportunity to talk about some other thing. This matter of people, carrying more than the required number of people in a vehicle, overloading of passengers, especially by commercial vehicle operators and even Kabu, they call them, these private vehicle owners. They have decided now to be carrying 2 people passengers on a single seat in front. The seat in front, especially for saloon vehicle, normally is for a single person because they are expected to wear seat belts when you sit on those seats. But what have we discovered? What these drivers do now is they will insist that two of you will sit on one seat, share a seat that is supposed to be shared by for one person. And then it's not as if they are going to say, okay, the money for this seat, say from point A to point B, is say 1,000 naira. They won't say, okay, because two of you are sitting down, you are going to pay 500 naira. On the contrary, I've heard even some very, very funny stories that the man will say, if you want to sit alone, you are going to pay twice the amount of money. So I want to use this media to sensitize Nigerians. It's not correct. It's a right to have a seat. You see, moving somebody from point A to point B is a contractual agreement. You've agreed that, okay, Oga, I'm going to give you 500 naira, and I'm going to, from this point to point B, for instance. So it's a contract, and I'm expected to sit well. Not that you squeeze me like a loaf of bread. I didn't commit any crime that I don't have my own personal car to use. You know, the public transport system that's provided is spent for everybody so that we can ease movement. You know, and then they keep arguing that if they don't do this, they will not break even. It's not true. It's not true because Nigerians remember that at each point, you know, PMS prices were increased. They doubled or even tripled the transport fare. So the question I keep asking is, what was that money you tripled the fare for? I thought it was because of the increments in pump price. So why are you now still asking Nigerians that they must be so squeezed before you break even? If you argue that you must break even, I'll give you typical examples of transport. I won't mention the name of the transport company, but 2 or 3, you know, here in Abuja. I'm telling you, they operate long distances, but that if you don't book 2 days before your trip, you won't get a seat. And they will never carry overload. They will never overspeed. Are we saying these transport companies don't break even? On the contrary, you see them, they maintain their vehicles very well. Their drivers are well paid. You know, so I think it's actually sheer greed that is causing this. And I want to call on Nigerians. You also have rights, just like the driver. You are paying. The driver is not carrying you free. So why is he insisting that he must squeeze you like a loaf of bread in a vehicle? There's a lot of disadvantage in carrying overload in a vehicle. One, the driver will not even have enough space, you know, to sit comfortably to be able to maneuver the vehicle in an event of an emergency, you know, or that even when you are trying to brake, because already you've added to the weight of the vehicle, normal weight. So of course the stopping distance will have been increased because it's heavier, you know. So where you want to stop at point A, you will not be able to stop. It will take you somewhere you won't like, especially in emergency braking times. So a lot of disadvantage. And then secondly, you are also shortening the lifespan of your vehicle. You know, the consumption of fuel increases because the heavier the vehicle, the more energy that the engine uses to move it. And so it will consume more fuel. So there's every disadvantage of this kind of infractions. And, you know, so people say they are not vehicles. It's not true. Because if you go to such places, you see such vehicles lined up and they wait for their turns. And so why not carry normal number of passengers? We'll be engaging people lately, especially visiting places where a lot of gatherings are. You know, the places we have identified, for instance, are churches. We know a lot of people go to church on Sundays, and on Fridays people go to mosque. We are religious people. So we take advantage of those kind of gatherings and talk to Nigerians, sensitize them, tell them, look, it's not only the driver that has the right, you also have rights. The right is, Oga, I'm not going to allow anyone to sit with me here because this seat is meant for one person. I'm expected to wear seatbelt. How would I wear seatbelt if 2 of us sit on this seat in the front? So we insist, and if all Nigerians insist, I tell you that they won't have a choice. If you want to do business, do it well. Why must you cheat other people because you want to break even? Are you the only person in this, for instance, in this situation we find ourselves? Are you the only person? You are not. So why must it be that it's only you that will be seen to be the one that's breaking even? The man that has gone to suffer. Do you know how he got the transfer fare in the first instance? And all he's asking for is, please take me to point B from point A safely. And you are saying, no, you must be so squeezed. No, you must suffer. It's not fair. And we are religious people, but that alone is a godless practice. We should fear God in the things we do. Why will you tell somebody to go and squeeze him like loaf of bread? In fact, I've even seen some people put people inside boots. Why will you do that? And Nigerians will even allow themselves to be so. Do you know why I'm saying Nigerians? Sometimes there was a time I was on traffic junction trying to control traffic, and the lane that I stopped, I saw such an overloaded vehicle, and I said, okay, wait, let me ask you a question to the passenger that was overloaded. Why did you allow yourself to be so carried? Oga, we like and so. I said, like what? You like what the man is doing to you? So it appears that we have even thrown our rights, to the wind. It's not. I don't think it's good enough. We must, if for us to have a safe motoring environment, everybody must be involved. It's a collective responsibility. So we want the passengers to also know this, that it's a contract between you and the driver, and that all of you in that vehicle, whatever happens to the vehicle, all of you are affected. It's only one driver. Instead of 4 people, he has already carried more than the number. Just recently, a vehicle crashed along the Abaji Road. Very painful situation for me. I still feel the pain. That 6 people died in that vehicle. Everybody died in that vehicle. And do you know what happened? The man didn't rest. He left Akure in the night and drove through the night to Abuja. Instead of him staying and resting before he takes the next passengers back to Akure, he didn't. He knew he was not going to, it wasn't his turn to pick passengers. So he went to the road and he was going back and picking passengers on the road. And just around Abaji, he crashed under a trailer. And everybody died, including himself. So what kind of thing, what are you pursuing? What is it? What is it? So we have to be very careful. We have to be patient. If you are into transport business, plan it very well. You don't say because I spent 1 million naira I must be seen to remove that 1 million naira in 3 months. No business is that lucrative. The higher the turnover of any business, the higher the chances of the business crashing. So it is with transport business. If you plan it very well, you say, okay, within 6 months, I know, okay, within 1 year, I should be able to break even. So I should take it easy. So I shouldn't overload. I shouldn't overstress the vehicle so that the vehicle can last longer. These vehicles we buy from outside, we call Tokumbo. Some people have used it. And so they obey all the rules. They service when it's necessary, when it's time to service the vehicle. They maintain those vehicles. And they sell it to us. So by the time it comes here, we begin to introduce our own kind of behavior that is killing us, that is killing the vehicles. We shouldn't allow such things to happen. These things are doable. It's a society we must create for ourselves. That's what appeal I'm making to Nigerians using this media. The common traffic offenses we have, especially around the FCT, though it's changing gradually, especially for motorists, for vehicles, for instance, is people beating traffic lights. Again, we are not everywhere at every point in time. Again, I would want Nigerians to also help us in this. That, for instance, you are stopping for traffic to give you right of way, and somebody will just come and then drive through. And a whole lot of Nigerians are watching them and they won't tell them anything. In fact, they can even pat them on the back for doing those kind of things. But when we see them, we are fortunate enough to see those ones. We try to apprehend them because there's a fine for those kind of offense, And then again, this issue of dispatch riders. I think the FCT needed to review their engagement. They are really making the city traffic ungovernable. And I don't think any decent government will sit and tolerate those kind of tendencies and attitude from people who ordinarily are supposed to be disciplined. Yeah, they are making ends meet. But you mustn't also create other problems because they are making ends meet. Nobody knows, no decent government will sit down and watch people, they destroy other people simply because they are into their own kind of business. So the most common infractions is this issue of beating traffic light. And then one other problem, this one is terrible, the use of phone while driving. It's becoming a serious and very major problem for us. Yeah, communication has been eased, for us, application of technology has become easier, but then it has also brought with it its own monster. A lot of people don't have the discipline of avoiding picking their calls or even making one while driving. Some of them have even come to want to wriggle out of, not trying to look for all sorts of excuses that because they are using Google Map. Okay, you are using Google Map. Doesn't it distract you? There are ways you can use Google Map without you getting distracted. This Google Map talks to you. The one I use, I know it talks to me. It talks back to me. So I stand at a particular place from location where I'm going. I enter where I'm going, and then I also enter where I've started from. And the Google Map starts talking to you. Must you carry the phone? Must you fiddle with it? You don't even need to touch it. So some people have phone holders. It becomes part and parcel of the dashboard. So it's not going to distract you. You only hear, okay, when you get to 2 kilometers, you turn left or right at maybe so-so and so-so street. That's what the Google tells you. And so why will you now carry the phone and then be concentrating on the phone, whereas you're expected to be concentrating on the road? The problem with distraction is that you have 40% chances of getting yourself involved in a crash if you are distracted from driving. That's what researchers have been able to come up with. And so we must understand that we are using Google Map doesn't give you the right to say, okay, you didn't commit offense. The offense they said is use of phone while driving. That is what the offense says. It didn't say, okay, we exempt the use of Google, especially if you are fiddling with the phone. If you are not touching the phone and nobody, in fact, even the traffic officer will not even know you are using the Google Map. And of course, there's minimal level of distraction at that point, because you know that your concentration is you are going to point B. And the Google Map is telling you, okay, turn left, turn right, do U-turn, and so on and so forth. So there's little distraction if you truly want to use it without it actually getting you distracted. But by the time you carry the phone and be fiddling with it, you are using the phone while driving, and then everybody sees it, and then if you observe those kind of people on highways, if you see any vehicle moving sluggishly or slowly, whereas they're supposed to go maybe at 60 kilometers per hour, they are going at 30 kilometers per hour, and other people are going at 60. That also is a problem. If you see any sluggish vehicle on the road, mark it today. The person is either reading their text messages, is answering a telephone call, because we are humans. You cannot multitask on the wheel like that. We don't have that kind of grace. And so people should try to, it's for our own safety, that's what they're saying. That call that you didn't take is not going to kill you. After all, it wasn't long ago that we didn't even have the telephones. So how has it that it has become like small gods in our hands? We can't do without it. There's some people don't have phone for only 2-3 hours, as if they want to faint. How have we gotten to this point? It's helping us, so we must be able to also use our heads, so that the technology doesn't have to be that is now you are a small god, to the extent that it's going to control you on the highway and even get you killed. Points are actually those where those traffic lights or lights have been fixed. They are meant to separate traffic coming from different directions. And so if you drive in and then the other person who have seen maybe he's on green and then you are on maybe red, of course the other person you may not be seeing the other person on the other side. All what we need is at this point is for people to be patriotic. Elsewhere, in other climes, even in the night, if the traffic is on red, you see them, they will wait. But here we are so in a hurry, pursuing nothing. And so it's in this hurry, especially Friday nights, we harvest people just having crashes left, right, and center, because people go get drunk in clubs and then going back home late in the morning of Fridays, or in the mornings of Saturdays. It becomes a problem. So we want people to be patriotic, to show some self-discipline. That's all we ask people to do. We needed to create this safer motoring environment together. Not that the government is going to say, okay, let me force it down your throat. It doesn't work like that. That's why we are trying to take time to educate people. All of this is for your good. We want you to get to your destination safely. You are an adult, for instance, maybe a mother, and you want to kill that. Where are you going? Wait. The children you gave birth to, you must take care of them. Why did you give birth to them? You have a responsibility to take care of them. Are you going to leave it to your siblings to take care of them? You must live long enough for you to take care of those children, because you have responsibility. So that's what I saying. So don't say it's not my business. It's my business. What goes around comes around. All of us are affected. One person you see dead on the road today, they have aunties, they have uncles, they have relations. So there's a whole multiplier effect, you know, of those people. For instance, those people that I told you that 6 of them died, do you know what that means? Each of them, let's say minimum, the minimum say they have 10 relations. 10 times 6, that's 60. So 60 people are affected. And it's going to it's going to affect the society. If you see people going to robbery, for instance, because they have nothing to do, hasn't it come back to me? So all of us are involved. Somebody shouldn't say it's not it's everybody's business. And so we must be seen to create for ourselves an environment. The way you make your bed is the way you lie on it. Especially the ones driving against traffic, for instance. It's heavy fine of 50,000 naira. That is even, to me, well, it should be enough for anybody to have taken 50,000 naira from your pocket. That's a lot of money. And it's only meant to serve as deterrent, so that next time I remember, okay, the government fined me this much amount because I did this kind of attitude. Just yesterday, a minister, I won't come on air and mention the minister's name. The minister knows himself. His convoy was driving against traffic around the NNPC, mega filling station, yesterday. I was driving from somewhere, and then I had cause to be warning his security details. So I incidentally know the protocol of that particular minister. I sent him a text message because I called, he was in a meeting. I said, your Oga should be conscious of the way his details are carrying around. Because there's no VIP when it comes to issues of a crash. In fact, you are even creating more problem for us because it wasn't easy to pick you as a minister. And then you have all the experience, and now you want to go. Where are you going? You are here to serve the Nigerian public. And so that you are a minister you shouldn't be driving against traffic. You should show good example, because to whom much is given, they say much is expected. It's like uniformed personnel driving against traffic. They are very privileged people. It's not everybody that gets to wear uniform. It's a very privileged opportunity to have you wear uniform, whether you be a soldier, whether you be a road safety, whether you be a police, whoever you are. It's a privilege, and Nigeria expects to see a different behavior from you because you've been so trained. But what will you find? I don't know why people behave the way they do. So whenever we visit the heads of those agencies, we speak about those kind of things. Don't allow our men to use uniform, to misbehave. Everybody is watching. And then we can't go and begin to disgrace ourselves, in those kind of situations. So we find a way of tracking those kind of people and getting back to their bosses. You see, laws are meant to be obeyed, whether we are Christians or Muslims. I know, for instance, in the Bible, Romans 13 says we should obey authorities. So these authorities are put in place for our good. It's meant to create a sane society. For every society where there's no leadership or where there's no discipline, you see a chaotic situation. So I expect that we should own all of these things we are talking about. Let's own it. Owning it means that, okay, this is not correct. Use your phone while driving is not correct. You know that beating traffic is wrong. All of us know it. But why would you want to go and do it? That's not how good motoring environment is created. Sometimes we envy some other countries when we go, when people are privileged to travel. But when you come back, your own is anyhow. It's not correct. We can't have a good motoring environment if you are not participating in trying in owning the discipline that you ought to have, especially maybe when you are driving. So I want, especially residents of Abuja, all eyes are on us because Abuja is supposed to be a model city. And so we can't create a model city with a chaotic traffic situation. So we, the traffic enforcers, are also doing everything within our power to ensure that at least we bring to book those people who will not listen. Very unpalatable, but we don't have a choice. We have to do it. One thing about enforcement is negative to sensibilities. Nobody wants anything called enforcement, but it's good for systems. Every system that you see that works is because they obey laws, they obey rules and regulations. That's why it works elsewhere. So why are we coming back here and then they destroying our own country? Our country mustn't work. Must you keep using some other people as a benchmark? Why don't they use us as benchmark? It's doable.